ghostly mark. Cobwebs twine and shadows dance in this twilight somber trance. Candles flicker, weary wicks, ancient echoes, time's cruel tricks. Marble figures, frozen pose, amidst the silence sorrow grows. Whispering shadows, secrets keep in the depths where night meets sleep. Underneath the velvet gloom, guardians of the haunted room. Chandeliers and crystal tears reflect forgotten yesteryears, softly chanting distant cries. Through the arches sorrow sighs. Gargoyles watch with stony gaze, guardians of endless maze. Pipe organ's breath begins to rise, filling air with mournful ties. Whispering shadows, secrets keep in the depths where night meets sleep. Underneath the velvet gloom, guardians of the haunted room.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and with any luck, everything is working, and I think I might be a little bit quiet. Let's bring that up just a bit, and chat will tell me what you think. And then I should probably also see if OBS has decided that Lictor exists today. Lictor, do you exist? No, you do not exist. I will fix this. Okay, properties. Abracalictor, please exist.
Please multiply me by my conjugate so shit will get real.
There we go.
I will no longer be imaginary. I will no longer be imaginary.
Right, let's see. What has chat got to say? Does the stream have a title? Just more Shoal, Chapter 4. That's it. I did change it over if Twitch is being weird, but I cannot help. Stream has title and category. Good. I'm glad you can see it, Night Owl. Twitch might be doing Twitch things on your end, Doctor Who, which, you know, would not be the first time. Introspective says, I have embarked on a project to write 20,000 plus words for a story. That sounds excellent. I hope you'll have a lot of fun doing that. I am glad to hear people are writing. Have you been writing anything this week, Lictor, or have you been chilling?
I have been designing a certain session.
Oh, gee, I wonder what that could be in relation to. We keep you busy.
You have. I have been receiving a few thousand words of text from you guys, and I had to actually sit down and think about it.
Sorry.
You see, there is only a certain amount of pantsing I can do while running for this particular group of absolutely mad lads.
Night
and looking
Owl
at
had
yourself.
occasion to DM me today and was talking about a Terry Pratchett quote, and the concept of whether or not I may be streaming with my pants on my head came up, and nothing can be confirmed one way or the other, alas.
Nope.
Thank you, Aiden. So
I
it's
am
been a
actually-
week. How is chat? Tell me how you were doing, chat. I know Lode is watching Olympic hockey as well as this. One of these things will be more interesting than the other, and it's definitely the hockey.
The hockey has a much higher amount of burly men slamming into each other at high speed.
Yes, and trained
So-
professional people who may or may not know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Doctor Who's been doing a kit bash. That's pretty awesome. Yes, a Clopalypse gym did happen last night, or a Pony Lips gym, or Jimma Musume. Though I contend it was not, in fact, Jimma Musume on account of having too many legs. But I had 11 individual DMs last night about that, and I either just gave people the number for, what number DM it was, or confirmed that, in fact, yes, that was cursed, and I approved. Yes, we have a Wilf. We do have a Wilf, which is lovely to have this week. Canada versus the Swiss this afternoon. May many chins remain uncracked. I hope the hockey players have a good time. Go sports. I've had a week. It's been a busy week. I haven't wanted to do anything that I have done this week because I appear to be in a depressive rut at the minute, which is really aggravating. And I'm not enjoying that very much. Been kind of miserable inside my own head for no good reason. Nothing bad has happened. Everybody has been lovely and polite to me as usual. I've gotten to work on fun things, but my brain's like, no, you're just unreasonably fed up and sad and have zero self-worth this week, and you're just gonna have to deal with that. And I'm like, fine.
Oxlayers has demands.
I can stretch. That is a thing I can do. My posture is terrible as usual, and unfortunately, I don't have any water next to me, so I will have to get a water break.
You can go and get water. I will enjoy my whiskey while you're doing it.
That sounds like the bestest water break. I think Aiden's going to go and get me a drink of something, so that will resolve that problem.
I have water in my barley juice.
A couple of drips of water makes it better. It's fabulous.
Actually, it does. Some whiskey does indeed enjoy if you add just a tiniest bit of ice water to it.
Yes. Aiden has some very fancy whiskey rocks in our house.
Oh, I'm sorry. It is a TOS. Wait a minute. Is that a TOS violation of Twitch? Or is it a TOS violation? I see. Okay.
Fair enough. But yeah, we have some very cool rocks you can throw in the freezer to make various things cold. They're lava rocks that my sister-in-law brought back from Iceland, which is very, very cool.
Very cool.
Yes. Yeah, so it's been a week, and oh no, we will drink water for the redeem. That is fine. Aiden is literally getting me my water now. This is fine. This is fine.
We are having water.
We will absolutely have water. I can hear Aiden getting ice cubes for me now, because he knows I like my water stupid cold.
Important pup date.
Oh, what's the important pup date?
As soon as she heard the fridge making ice cubes, Anka came tearing out of the Beagle zone because she demanded ice.
Anka does love ice cubes, yes.
Saris has even gotten in on it.
My goodness, Saris. That is unlike you, baby girl. Yep, the Beagles are also enjoying ice and therefore a nice water break. So thank you, Orc Slayers.
I will go get some.
There we go. Water redeemed. What was I going to say? Oh, yeah. So go ahead.
Okay, I will imbibe water then.
Please do.
And the water will be
hydrate,
very,
so you don't dehydrate.
I will hail hydrate.
Excellent. Grimo says, I got up from loving on beagles. I'm watching because I detected TOS violations. They are now grumbling. Sorry, Grimos. Go pet those beagles. We just happened to talk about two things at once, but I assure you, water has been drunk. We are hydrating. We are being good. Pets have also been redeemed. As soon as one of the beagles comes close enough, I will give them all of the loves, which probably won't be long. I nearly always have a beagle on my hip.
Beagles.
So, one of the things I wanted to talk about this week, because we technically talk about constructive things on this stream, honest, and we pretend we know what we're doing. Creativity as a job and some of the hurdles therein. I do creativity as a job. I draw nearly every single day of the week. If I'm being good, I take Fridays after stream off, and I take Sundays off, though that will be changing because I have a really cool thing to talk about I'll be doing on Sundays. But all the rest of the week, I am always drawing because that is my profession. I do art for a living. So what happens when you have a week like I'm having this week, where I'm depressed, but I have deadlines? Yes, Doctor Who knows. While Doctor Who was here, I was even drawing while Doctor Who was here. Though we had a very good time and got to do many fun things, which was cool. But I nearly always have a tablet or a keyboard in my lap doing something. And I thought it might be nice to just sort of have a little talk about what it can look like when you take up creativity as a profession. Yes, but depression is very bad, and I do wish it would leave me alone. I suspect it's just my imposter syndrome playing up, because I do have chronic imposter syndrome, and it's a real pain in the ass. It's not logical, it's not easy to deal with, it doesn't just go away, and even though I've thankfully had a wonderful time with therapy, and it helped me to become a much better person than I was like 6 or 7 years ago when I didn't know what was wrong with me and desperately needed a therapist. It does help to be able to say, yes, I have this problem. This is a thing that is going on, and it probably isn't correct that I'm feeling this way. I'm probably not completely incompetent at everything that I do, etc., etc. I probably am fine. My brain is lying to me. Even when you have the ability to know what your issues are, be able to spot and detect them and put a name to them, it doesn't just magically make them go away. It just means that you can be a bit more wise in how you deal with it. So I know that it's imposter syndrome talking, that there's not really any good reason for me to be feeling the way that I am this week, but that doesn't make the feeling just stop. And that can be a pain in the butt when you have things that you need to do. And yes, Bully Snake, everybody does have a degree of imposter syndrome, but the sort of level that everybody has is not technically the syndrome, because that's a normal part of being alive. If you have actual imposter syndrome, it's like that beyond the normal level that you should have. Because yes, adulting is just sort of growing up and realizing, oh hey, most of us don't know what we're doing and we're all just pretending. But there are some levels that can go beyond that, and unfortunately that's what's been attacking me this week. But I have deadlines, I have stuff I have to do, I have cool things people have trusted me with, and that's where sort of the hard part of art as a career can come in, because I don't have the luxury of just not working this week. There are things that will benefit all of you guys next month that I've been asked to do, and it's a cool idea, and I've got various people who are helping me to make it more than it would be if just I was working on it. So Aiden's going to be doing some stuff, and Storm Song's going to be doing some stuff, and I have oversight from 2 of the coolest people to work for, which is great. So that had to be worked on, and there does come a time with creativity where you have to recognize that you're not in the headspace that you'd ideally like to be in, or you don't feel like doing the thing. Girls, do you mind? But you have to do it anyway, and knowing the difference between when you need to go, I cannot today, anything I do I will just end up having to redo, because there's literally a problem, I cannot do this right now, today needs to be a day off. And a day where you need to recognize that your brain is lying to you and you need to overcome it, I think that's one of the hardest sort of differences to learn in being an artist overall. And there's no easy way to teach that. Have you ever run into something like that, Lichter?
I'm trying very hard not to say Girl, same about every other sentence you're saying.
Yeah.
Your brain is lying to you constantly. From the inability to tell colors when the light is dark or light, I challenge you to that dress all over again. Just for a physical tactile, just physical proof. Your brain is lying to you. Oh
Yes.
yes, it does.
Yes.
And yes, hey there, Tyler German. Me and Tyler German this week sat down and we discussed how to tighten um, cradles, tighten chairs,
Mm-hmm.
pilot chairs look like. So that was fun. But yeah, I have this all the time, and it doesn't have to do with art. It can happen when I'm programming, where the ability to just sit down and make computer go clack clack. And I suspect many people have that problem when the need to get out of. Oh no, he's using that name. I'm sorry, Mercury Alpha. Oh God. I'm sorry.
This is
I will go
Aiden's
on.
fault. You can yell at Aiden tomorrow about this.
What?
I will.
The Beanie
You.
Gesserit.
Oh yes, the Beanie Jesuits.
I will
Yes.
yell at everyone for the translations they did for Hebrew words in Dune. I will yell. There will be yelling. Good God, I've done this rant before. I have. I will not repeat it for the benefit of everyone. Please.
The dress that broke
Anyway.
the internet, where people found out that they had bad white balancing on their devices. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. Oh, it's Turtle's fault? Okay, well, we'll blame Aiden and Turtle. That's fine.
I'm willing to blame as many people as need be. Good God. Okay. Never mind.
I think you've hit on part of the thing there, is that in other industries, it's very common to have this is just a bad work day. I've got to come in and, maybe you're just doing data entry, something as simple as data entry, where it's just come in, put your music on, do the thing. And even then, you're still going to have days where it's just, you're not there, but you have to do the job anyway. And I think with some jobs, that's just kind of expected, that you'll have bad days, that will be lower productivity, etc. I feel like there are some people out there who just view you're able to do art for a living, that must be so nice. And there are days where it can be just as hard as any other job. I'm sure there are plenty of people out there who absolutely understand that.
I'm going to say something interesting. This connects. My mom had a very artistic lifestyle. From a relatively young age, she went and did her master's degree on weaving techniques, out of all things. And she did not want to go to art school, or the very best art school, because she was afraid, what if people would expect me to be, and I'm translating but quoting here, what if people would expect me to be creative every day?
Yeah.
Every day for 3 years in a row. I can't be creative every day. This takes juice out of me. And what if I can't? Well, we are discovering that to work as an artist, to work as a creative, is something that is A, draining, B, since we are at a day and age where we are trying to actually tackle and deal with emotional situations, and actually give them names and deal with them, instead of just assuming, oh no, he's lazy, she is lazy, they are not functional, they are bad and they should be laid off. We're actually trying to deal with it. Mm-hmm. That is the major difference. You can actually talk about it in the wider audience and deal with it. I don't think that this is a problem of our day and age, insofar we have the privilege of being able to talk about it and bring it out and deal with it as people, as a community, rather than as to each his own and deal with it on your own.
Yeah, I mean, it's like with cancer. Cancer existed before we knew cancer existed. It was just once we figured out, oh, hey, this is a thing, we could put a name to it, and you start to recognize it for what it is. And yeah, I think that sort of emotional burnout, that difficulty with creating has always been there, and the emotional toll it can take when you're expected to do it every single day. And yeah, people are more aware of it now. I think you're right.
And depression.
Yes, which plays just a huge part in so very many things. And as I say, I've got no reason to be depressed this week. Nothing bad has happened to me. Everything's great. My brain just disagrees.
Yeah, no, this is the most... Okay, I'm handling my own undiagnosed but very existing. My problems are probably because I have very, very good reasons to have trauma of various kinds, and thus most everyone are just like, this is me trauma dumping on you guys. So,
Welcome to the therapy session, chat.
Hello. So, but it's just depression. It's basic depression, and I'm lucky to have enough people around me in my life. The PPL is a space. It's not a therapeutic space, but it's a space where at least talking about it doesn't get me the stink eye, which is nice.
Yeah, and there's also the thing, it's one of the things that I think is so great about the BPL and the Orcs is, as a curated community where we attempt to keep like-minded people together and remove negative elements who aren't here for the right reasons, it gives sort of that sense of community that I think is very necessary to just be a human being. Even if, you might not do anything specific with the community this week, but it's there, and there are people who, there's people out there who are like me. And that knowledge helps so much. Because, that's how I've gotten through this week. I don't want to do this, but I do want the good outcome at the end for people to, take advantage of this thing that I've made. The people who've entrusted me to do it, I want to see them smile and be happy. And I know that when I get on stream on Friday, I'm like, yeah, I've had kind of a bad week for no good reason, that there are going to be people in chat who understand and can commiserate, and I'm not just some weird person who's going through life this way completely on my own. This is something that everybody deals with, and of course we have our wonderful Sunday streams where Hal talks about mental health, and yeah, it's just been a bit of a week, but I persevered. I did the creativity regardless, and I know that will help when this sort of little phase passes, when my brain decides to ease off. I'll be really glad that I've done the work that I've done, and I'm glad that I'm in a position where I can tell the difference between I cannot work today because if I force myself, I'm just going to end up redoing everything that I've done because it's going to come out bad, versus I don't want to work today, but I should push through. And, I'm pretty pleased with where I've gotten to this week. I just wish my brain felt better about it.
I did do something I'm proud of this week,
Good.
though it's not necessarily Shoal. And I want to share it with the class because I think it's relevant. I have not read paperback words in at least 3 years for fairly obvious reasons we should not go into. Yeah. I have been reading way too much information, and the written word, for the most part, has become a chore for me.
Yes, it's got a negative association sat with it.
Yep. And a few weeks ago, a friend of mine has finished writing had come out of the woods, and she had written her own series of stories, her own world creative situation. And I printed everything out on paperback, and I managed to sit down, and I used to read very quickly. Yeah. Like, I could finish paperbacks with 600 pages in a day or two. Yeah. The old books like Dragonlance and stuff like that.
I used to read a Terry Pratchett book in about 4 hours. New one came out 4 hours. I devoured that book and was looking for more.
Yeah. Less than a minute per page.
Yep.
And
more water. Consume more water. I shall have more fluids.
Yes, consume. Please consume the fluids.
Opkia asking that. Opkia, would it be okay if I showed chat what I've been doing for you today? You let me know. Either answer is
Yes.
completely acceptable.
So this is where so I am very proud of myself, and that was with the prompting of my lady.
Mhm.
That I sat down with the book, with the paperback, and read it, and the first few pages were very hard for me to read. And she asked me, is it hard because you're not interested in the story or because the medium is hard? And it took a while to settle down because the story was interesting. But I had to admit to myself that I am actually having a hard time reading with my eyes. I, I moved to Audible. It's not that I stopped reading, I've stopped listening to books, but heavens. And I finished. It was a 38K story.
Mm-hmm.
And I finished it eventually in 2 evenings, and I was amazed because it was so hard to go through the first few pages just to get my brain back into you can read words on paper
And
and
enjoy them.
yes, and they're not there to hurt you or anyone else.
I think it's also one of the things that just sort of goes by the wayside is that reading itself, the act of reading, is a skill. It is not something that is just natural to the human race. You have to learn how to do it as a child. You have to repeat it over and over and over again to get good at it. And hopefully, you'll be introduced to some things that you enjoy reading that will continue that onwards for you. And as you go through the school system, because the education system is the thing that it is, reading becomes a habit. Once you exit the school system, depending on where your career takes you, there's no longer that consistent reinforcement of the skill. And depending on your career, there might be no requirement for you to continue reading at all, which can make it quite hard to come back to books after a long period away and just pick them back up and enjoy it again. Because it is a skill to be able to sort of sink into the words, pace yourself. There is pacing to reading. It's not always good to read too fast. It's not always good to read too slow. And different pieces of writing have a different meter to them, and you sort of feel that inside your own head as you read by reading and becoming familiar with prose and how it flows. And if you've been away for it for a while, it's going to feel weird and strange when you come back to it. And I think it's just one of these things that we take for granted. But reading is absolutely a skill. It's not just a case of, oh yes, you know your letters, you can put words together, that's it, you're done. It is more complicated than that.
Yes. I can I give another personal note because it's
Sure.
a nice story of success.
Please do.
My younger son has all the ADHD in the world, like the whole list, the whole spectrum, all of it, and uh, and he is now in fifth grade, and he could not read up until recently in his native tongue. Now, granted, he's one of those kids who speak in 3 different languages before the age of 10.
Yeah.
Because strange house, but he is supposed to at least be capable of reading a paragraph in my case, Hebrew. And we took the time, and we took 15 minutes a day. Every day we had a weekly meeting with a tutor, and he is now reading a book.
Excellent. I'm very proud of him, and I hope it's a book he will enjoy and a skill he'll continue to develop, because reading is a wonderful thing, and writing so that people have good things to read is a wonderful thing.
Yes,
and I
which
happen
is
to
what
know
we're
his
doing
dad
here.
writes good stuff.
Oh God, goodness gracious, that was underhanded,
Wasn't it?
Yes, it was. Thank you. I'll take this compliment and ask you. You've written something very terrifying in today's short. You said you want to talk about chapter 4.
Yes, yeah, I have made a start on chapter 4. So last time we actually looked at our novel, and I'm not going to jump straight into it yet because there's just a couple other things I want to go over first, but we will get to it in a few minutes. Last time we sort of talked about the main novel that we're writing. I'd gotten a bit hung up in chapter 3 with how the introductions between all of our characters should go at Gleamwake, and I still have not, it's been 2 weeks, but I've not been in the right brain space to solve that problem, and that's fine. It is not uncommon for that sort of hiccup to come up while writing narrative. In part, I suspect what I need is to write the characters in some of the more dramatic scenes first, so that I have like an internal feel for them, and that will make going back and writing that first encounter where everyone talks to each other easier, and I can come back to that later on. One of the reasons why Scrivener is so great is because you can just sort of break your stuff up and then come back to bits that need it later on, and it doesn't stop you from moving on to later bits that you are ready to detail. So that was what I did this week. I went, I'm not going to go back and try and fix chapter 3 yet. It's not the right time. I'm not ready. This was one of those occasions where I was like, if I force myself through this, I'm only going to have to redo all the work that I've done because it's not going to be right. So I made the decision to leave it alone and move on to the next thing, and I started writing chapter 4, and I've got about 4,000 words for you guys today. So we will go over that shortly. And yeah, and that's on a week where I've just been feeling really, really rough because I knew I was going to be seeing you guys today. I didn't want to let chat down. Shoal is important to me, and I'm hoping by the time I've read it, if you guys like it, that will help with what I have going on. Sometimes creativity just needs you to push through. Other things I wanted to show you guys. First, let me just show you what I've been working on for Oakir, because I got approached this morning, and I was like, you know what? That's something I want to go and do. So, no, easiest way to do this will be, do I have Clip Studio? Yes, I do. If I push this button, you guys should just be able to see what I am doing. Boop, there we go. And we'll wait for the stream to catch up. So yeah, I'm getting to draw a very cute chibi sticker today, and I'm having a grand time with it. So look at that adorable little fluffy moth girl.
Oh.
That was this morning's work.
It's
and
adorable.
It was honestly probably just what I needed, because I was going to make myself work on something I'm doing for somebody else today. I probably would not have done particularly well at that, so doing something that I wanted to do was a good thing. It certainly helped. Are we going to race moth girls now? I am not at all going to tell Dr. Mooncake whether she should or should not race, and whether she should or should not stop smoking. I'm terrified of the consequences, so that's between you guys. Yes, a cute moth chief.
I think so.
Yes. So I thought I'd show you that I'd been working on that. Which was
For a
nice.
baby sitting on, what is that? Is that a cigarette?
Yeah, she's. So what this was Okia sent me a message where somebody had seen a very cute moth that had landed on a no smoking sign, and then there was various commentary about Dr. Mooncake, who is known for her enjoyment of cigarettes, but also for being very helpful medically. I was given the idea, and I thought it would be very cute if she was sitting on a cigarette, because she is known for her smoking. Okay, let's click back over to Shoal. I do have another cool thing that is going to be starting up that I just want to talk about because it makes me happy, and happiness is good.
Happy.
Happiness is very good, very nice. So I did say that I take Friday afternoons off and Sundays. I'm not going to be taking Sundays off anymore. So, my art mentor, who got me into doing art properly in the first place, because I've always been an amateur artist for like the majority of my life. It's just something I've always found enjoyable. And then when I'd joined the Legion and was going to be streaming and wanted an avatar for that, a PNG tuber, he approached an artist who was just making the transition from anthro art over to doing more painterly human art, and really expanding her skill repertoire. And she made the icon that Aiden still uses to this day, and she's wonderful. Very, very lovely lady, incredibly talented, works very, very hard at what she does. Starlight Akari, she is a VTuber. And yeah, she enjoys her artist things, and she's also really gotten into Arknights in the last sort of 6 months or so. And I sent her a piece of my amateur art. It's just sort of like, oh yeah, my art, my wife does, you know, art, and she's a hobbyist. And she immediately was like, oh, this is really good. If you wanted to take it to the next level, this is what you should do next. And if I remember correctly, her advice was that I really needed at that, where I was at that time, to start pushing my shadows, to really make sort of my art more cohesive. And that was how my, you know, friendship with Starlight started, and then progressed forwards. And I got my art school program, I completed 2 terms, and I drew the Hunchback, and now we're here. So a horse girl with Mothwing racewear, I could probably do that. It will not be this week, however. I've got too many things to finish by the end of the month.
Vivian Mooncake Musume.
Vivian Munamusume?
Oh my god.
Why?
Why not? Why not? I do love the Horse Girl game. I do love the Horse Girl game very much.
Yes, you do.
So
Yes, you
anyway,
do.
my art mentor, she got me into art. She's the reason I'm here. She's the reason I've pushed my art to the point where I can now do things for other people, and, you know, that they don't look like childish scribbles, etc., etc. And she is wonderful, and she has this vision of a unified setting that all of her works can sort of flow into or flow from, places that she wants to go. And a degree of this is narrative understanding. And it's been very interesting to have somebody who I've looked up to so strongly as an artist, who's guided me in my art journey, who's now feeding it sort of back in the other direction, where my narrative understanding can now help to educate and teach her and allow her to push her projects onto the next level. So on Sundays, I am going to be working on looking over all of her really cool lore ideas and the stuff that she's doing, and sort of helping to do some world building for that, and solidify her ideas the same way we did for Shoal. So I'm very excited about doing that. Yeah, it's nice to have that creative sort of roundabout going on, where everybody inspires and helps each other. I find that very gratifying, very pleasing. So yeah, that's going to be my Sundays. Alrighty, let's actually do some Shoal stuff. I've been wittering for nearly 40 minutes this week. I am very sorry, chat. I'm very appreciative for you just hanging around.
No. You're not sorry. We are all in this together, and you've been listening to me wittering at least half of the time, so you at least have the story.
Very important. I do appreciate a good witter. Alrighty, so let's take a look at chapter 4 then, and I will have some fluids before I start reading, and I will be very happy to read to you guys what I've done and see what you guys think. And we'll go from there. And then the discussion I'd like to have afterwards is going to be about scene setting and how to use it effectively. On the assumption you guys like what I wrote. If it turns out you hate what I wrote, then scene setting and what not to do will be the discussion instead.
Yes.
Alrighty. So last we left our heroes, they had made their way to Gleamwake. The whole crew had met up. We had Umi and the 2 Titans and Jake meet up with Jabra and the ancillary crew that are going to be traveling with them to the Lost City. There was a little bit brief kerfuffle at the entrance to Gleamwake because the Guardians there didn't believe that this ragtag crew was actually representing the library. Turned out they were. Everyone got together. We had a brief cameo from Benny, and then they were going to chill out while they waited for the migratory city to get to their drop-off point to then head to the city. And that's where we're picking up, is them heading out from Gleamwake to their destination.
Excellent.
Chapter 4. Echo stepped off the city's underside in 3 slow strides, and the last of the drag structures slid out of Jake's field of view within a few minutes. One moment there were hull plates and maintenance frames overhead, then soon there was only water and the hard white circle of the sky through the surface. Snell's window staring down at them like an unblinking eye. Then even that began to shrink in time with their stately descent. "Convoy, mark descent," Nick said over the channel. His voice was all business now, youthful lilt dampened down to patrol cadence. "Stage 1, 200 metres below Gleamwake hull, slow sink. Hold at pressure shelf until Echo calls clear. Copy stage 1, Hordaka chimed in. Jabra added a curt affirmative, her shroud tight and practical. The others followed, a chain of acknowledgements in different timbres and species. Jacob, Kilo murmured, private and warm against his implant. Breathe normally. Suit is handling gas mix. The pressure schedule is for everyone else. You will be fine. Jake smiled despite himself. I didn't say I was worried. I believe you may have thought it, Kilo said. She wasn't wrong. Echo's engines dropped to a murmur, just enough thrust to control attitude. Gravity gave way to the slow inevitability of the descent as the convoy let themselves fall. Gleamwake's receding shadow thinned above them. Light refracted down through the city's hull baffles, breaking into shafts and ghostly patterns that moved across Echo's plating as if someone were playing a slow game of cards with the sunlight. The circle of the surface narrowed. Jake watched it through his suit's top cams, a bright porthole surrounded by darker blue. Around and below them, Shoal's open ocean unfolded. They were leaving the noisy cradle of the city waters, where traffic and infrastructure and the crowded hum of 100,000 shrouds filled the song. Out here, the psychic background thinned. There was still life, but it was more diffuse, like a city's murmur slowly fading into the countryside. Jake let his own shroud widen a fraction, the way Umi had taught him. Not enough to attract attention, just enough to feel. Currents flowed past, large and small. Distant shoaly bodies moved in their wake. He could also feel his companions. Umi, tethered to Echo's flank, the shallow water medic in a compact pressure frame, Talia in a slim exosuit with Echo's library glyphs etched down one arm. Jabra's personal shell, reinforced and scarred, drifted near Nick's broad back, her 4 security crews spaced around her in a loose practice formation. Farther out, the 2 smaller escort frames that Gleamwake had assigned for this stretch of the journey kept parallel lanes, their shrouds alert and just a little nervous, waiting for their moment to disengage and return to the fleet. His HUD painted the convoy in neat icons and depths readouts. Echo at the centre, Nick slightly ahead and above, the rest clustered in 3-dimensional smears around them. Depth 50, Kilo said. Hull stress negligible. External temperature dropping by 1.2 degrees and falling. Surface glare minimal. Snell's window at 40% apparent diameter. Translation, Jake said, looking up as the bright circle continued to contract. We're sinking. Affirmative, Kilo said, with intent. He snorted. Light shifted as they lost the city's refracted spill. The glare softened, edges blurring into a cooler blue-green. Water thickened with the faint, sparkling haze of plankton. Shoal's star, Mern, still reached them, but filtered now through kilometres of moving glass. Your first real open ocean descent from a city, Umi said, voice slipping easily into the shared channel. How does it feel? Jake considered. Big, he said. I know that's not a very scientific term. Well, it's perfectly scientific, Umi said. The ocean is big. It is allowed to impress you. It is impressive, echoed a sedate voice. Mags, Echo's pilot. Her tone came through both the water and his implant, layered in smooth, clipped tones with the edges of someone who'd spent a lifetime giving instructions and direction. Remember your spacing, she added. We're not in gorge walls now. Down is not a floor and up is not an exit. If you lose visuals, you'll lose us. Aye, Guardian, Jabra said. We'll stay on your skirts. There was a chuckle in the song that might have been Echo or might have been Mags. Stage 1 depth reached, Nick reported, holding at 200. Pressure rise steady, no structural protests. Copy, Mags said. All Shoaly not in full shell frames report discomfort levels. The medic piped up first, admitting to a faint, tolerable ache in joints. One of Jabra's men, a scar-tailed laticle, reported a matching tightness in their gill slits. Umi said nothing. His shroud was steady as a rock. Good, Mags said. We'll hold for 10 minutes and then we'll go down again. It was slow but comforting. Jake knew Echo could have dropped them to the target depth in a small fraction of the time, but Shoal wasn't built for high-speed verticality without protection. Half the convoy had blood and coral both to think about. Even Titans weren't immune to the peculiar stress that came when you took living reef too fast between pressure zones. They drifted. With the surface above mostly occluded now, the ocean's own inhabitants became more apparent. A school of silver-bodied fish with broad, graceful fins slipped past on some invisible highway, their bodies edged in faint electric lines. As they passed Echo's hull, the lines brightened in a ripple, reacting to her presence. Kilo tagged them as a filter feeder species with minimal curiosity and no threat. Below, something larger moved parallel to their course, a sleek, eel-like predator with paired biolights on its head. It kept its distance, shroud tuned to cautious interest. Jake watched it watch them for a full minute before it decided the convoy was too large to be interesting and veered off. External fauna density within expected parameters, Kilo recorded dutifully. I recommend not touching anything with teeth larger than your hand. Why limit ourselves? Muttered the mech tech on an open channel. Some of these things have teeth bigger than my whole torso. Then especially those ones, Kilo said. The timer on Jake's HUD counted down. When it hit 0, Mags gave the order and they sank again. Stage by stage, the light thinned. Blue deepened into something richer, indigo shading toward black. Snell's window dwindled to a coin, then a pinprick, then vanished entirely as the water above homogenized into a luminous ceiling. After that, up was just the direction his HUD said that it was. Temperature continued its slow slide. External sensors reported it in neat numbers and graphs. His body felt it as a steady inward creep of cool. The suit compensated, warming his impulse layer, maintaining muscle comfort, but the psychological effect remained. They were leaving the friendly band of the upper ocean. Current's changing, Umi noted, mostly for the Shoal who navigated by feel as much as by instrument. We're crossing the southern sheer. Jake felt that too, even through suit insulation. The water stopped caressing and began to push. Broad, slow motions, less like waves and more like the whole medium deciding to shift sideways. Convoy, adjust trim, Nick instructed. Keep your noses in the flow, don't let it roll you. His own thrusters flicked, tiny adjustments keeping him oriented. Echo followed with the deliberate steadiness of a long-practiced swimmer, tendrils spreading little to help anchor her path in the current. Smaller bodies tucked in closer, letting the Titan's bulk break the worst of the shifting water. Depth 800, Kilo said. Bioluminescent activity increasing. Jake didn't need the note. As the sunlight died, other lights took over. Single points at first. Here, a drifting organism with a pulsing orb in its centre. There, a ribbon worm leaving a faint trail of phosphorescence. The further they went, the more the dark filled up. Whole constellations of tiny swimmers moved as one, shifting patterns like flocks of starlings. Large, slow-moving shapes angled by, bodies studded with soft glows that ran down their sides in a language no human yet read. Outcroppings of reef jutted from the slopes below, each crowded with stationary, soft-bodied things that blinked open and shut in response to their passage. Shoal's deep life was not barren. It was busy. Isn't it beautiful? Talia breathed, voice faint on the shared line. Her shroud was a fizz of delight, barely contained. It's breathtaking, Jake murmured back. I'd seen models in Haven, but they really don't do it justice. The models are flat, Umi said. Shoal's rural ocean is not. Jake watched the light play across Echo's hull, painting her old plates in shimmering bands. For all the mech was steel and coral, she did not look out of place here. She looked like she'd grown up out of the same dark. How many times have you done this run? Jake asked quietly. On paper, Mag said. About 50 times. This is our first actual in-person venture, though. I've been studying this region for much of my life. However, it's always fascinated me. There was no fatigue in it, just experience. Every projection for past expeditions came up different, she added after a moment. Different currents, different seasons, different faces in the convoy. The ocean's not a line on a map. It remembers and it changes. That's why we write it down, before it changes again. And so we can choose when the current will be just right. That was the library talking. Jake felt a shiver of fellow feeling at the thought, part scientist and part archivist. Depth 1000, Kilo announced. We are now beyond the safe operating range of unprotected surface-borne physiology. Please do not remove your helmet. Noted, Jake said, for the 3rd time today. You would be surprised how often that reminder is necessary, Kilo said. They held another shelf, then continued. As they dropped past 1,200 metres, something else shifted. The song. It had been thinning the way noise thins as you leave a crowd, but it had always been there. Background emotions of creatures, the steady low hum of distant reef, echoes and Nick's massive stable shrouds as anchors. Now, underneath that, Jake felt an absence. Not a void like his own suit, something more like a gap in a pattern, a scar. "Do you feel it?" Umi asked, very softly. Jake hesitated, then nodded, knowing the Latical would see the motion through his cams. "Something's missing," he said. "Like a hole in the background." "That is Chorax's mark," Umi said. "We are close enough now that the song around it remembers." Jake swallowed. He knew the basics, from briefings and from Umi's primer. Chorax, once a thriving city. Then came the quiet event, a natural disaster, quarantine, stories told to choral apprentices as warnings. But knowing about something and feeling its echo in the medium were very different things. "Guardian," Umi said, switching to a wider channel. "Now is a good time." "Agreed," Mags said. Her voice took on a different cadence. She became less clipped and more deliberate, the way someone spoke when they expected their words to be recorded. "Listen up," she said, "all of you, especially those who have never even read about Chorax in the files." The chatter on the line died. "Chorax was built before the Forge Wars," Mags began. "Before New Haven, before Gleamwake, before Merrinport. It sat on a cross-current reef hub. Trading, research, memory banking. The city was proud of its architecture, and rightly so. They ringed their habitation zones with Temps Towers, a ring of outer nodes, each specialised, all feeding into a central core library." Jake pictured it. Tall spires in a circle, each humming with stored memories, their shrouds woven into an intricate pattern. Like neurons around a brain. Alien, beautiful, sonorous. "Efficient," their psyoptic specialist murmured. "Have tight latency. But ultimately fragile," Max said. "Any system like that has weaknesses, and Chorax's was the quiet." Even through a speaker, the word had weight. Quiet. Jake had seen the term in files, but it was different hearing it from somebody who had built their career around defending against it and cataloguing it. "Just as each of us is different to each other, so it is with the quiet," Max went on. "Some breeds are simple. They cause local disruptions, short-lived, because they grow fat quickly or do not choose to hide. Some breeds are wild and mindless, the way fungus will grow on any damp surface. Those we learn to scrub because they also do not hide well. We built filters, we trained readers, we mended the song. Even those breeds that like to lurk in the depths of twisted coral lattices can be rooted out by trained tenders." Her shroud, through Echo, deepened. Echo's own presence hummed a half-step lower. "But some strains are clever," Max said. "They adapt. They learn to hide in the less checked corners, where natural Shoal error creeps in. They grow quietly in towers at the edge of attention, where the audits are perfunctory. They wait, and they can be aggressive when the time is right." Silence held the line. "The strain that took Chorax was one of those," Max said. "It seeded itself in 2 of the outer Temps Towers. Slow, harmless growth, barely detectable against normal flux. When it reached a critical load, it did not bloom there." Jake felt his mouth go dry. "It pushed," Max said. "It followed the tower links inward, rode the song traffic straight into the central library and bloomed inside the heart." "We've all seen the Aftermath files," the psyoptic expert said, subdued. "Files are words," Max said. "You need to understand the shape of it. Imagine every Temps in a library screaming at the same moment. Imagine every structural chord turning to just noise. Chorax's Temps went loud, and then silent. It all crumbled. Layers upon layers of recorded lives, records, legal structures, navigation charts, all gone to a kind of conceptual ash in minutes. And anyone reading it or hearing it was affected." Jake's mind supplied imagery from Earth. Servers melting, power grids collapsing, books burning. Nothing, though, compared in his mind's eye to the thought of a whole reef screaming. For a second, he saw himself staring into his own past. At a reef that couldn't yell, but maybe wished that it could. Transmissions lines carried the collapse wave back out along the circle, Mags continued, breaking his reverie. Tower to tower. The quiet bloomed in them all, one after the other. The song feedback hit the city like a hammer. Every Shoalie within range staggered. Some never woke up the same. Some never woke up at all. Some fell into the quiet blooms. Jake thought of being underwater when something exploded, how the pressure wave hit every part of you all at once. The physical city remained, Mags said. Buildings, infrastructure, bodies. But the information architecture was broken and the quiet kept eating. Any attempt to access the remaining temps risked spreading it. They tried workaround after workaround. Minor success and major failures. Her tone flattened. Eventually, the outer libraries of the other cities declared Chorax unsalvageable, she said. Quarantine was set, a perimeter song watch established for 10 grand years. No one was permitted inside for any reason. The inhabitants who survived scattered. The dead stayed where they had fallen until the reef and the scavengers reclaimed them. After 10 grand years, no one bothered trying to return, and Chorax was slowly forgotten. And now, Jabra said, not unkindly, we go back. Now, Mag said, we go to the outskirts. We will need to establish a base camp and run some diagnostics before we go deeper. It's been generations since the fall. No quiet should have survived. But it never hurts to be cautious. Not even for lost knowledge. A beat. This is not a salvage run for trinkets, she finished. We are here because the record of Chorax's fall is thin, and the Forge Wars were worse. Quiet does not happen without context. We believe Chorax's outer facilities may still hold manufactured records that will be informative. Etched plates, mechanical loggers, personal shells, the things that were left behind in the evacuation. Accounts written by people who watched the city fail from its edges. We find them, we bring them home, and we learn something before the next clever Quiet tries the same trick. And we honour the memory of those who died here. And if the Quiet isn't as dead as you think? Jolly asked quietly. Then, Mag said, Echo and Nick are here to make sure it dies without spreading. That's why the library pays hazard rates. Echo said nothing, but her shroud rippled agreement as a deep, cold readiness that made some primal part of Jake's brain want to be somewhere else. Depth 1500, Kilo said into the hush. We are entering the Chorax exclusion zone. Passive scans show no activity. Intentional structures ahead. Visuals in 3 minutes, Nick reported. Terrain rising. Jake looked down. For a long time there had been only distance, a vague sense of darker below. Now the low-light cameras started to pick up texture. At first it was just a slope, ancient rock dusted with sediment and animal molts. Then, rising out of that, shapes. Not the organic asymmetry of reef towers. Lines. Straight edges, slumping but still recognisable. Flat surfaces, angles, windows. Buildings. Chorax Outer District, Kilo labelled, whispering data from the convoy's shared map. Elevation ramp to main ring. The convoy adjusted their angle, levelling out. Echo's engines shifted from down thrust to forward, nudging them along a gentle decline that traced what had once been a main avenue. The only illumination came from their own lights and the life that had moved in since. Projection beams swept ahead of Nick's shoulder mounts and the escort frames, cutting through water thick with motes. They played over structures half-claimed by reef. Doorways silted up, windows blown out, balconies hanging like broken ribs. In the spaces where coral had colonised the old walls, bioluminescence pulsed in soft blues and greens, here and there a sharp, toxic orange. Tendrils hung like drowned banners. Filter feeders waved slow fans from ruined rooflines, harvesting whatever the current brought. No bodies, no skeletal remains. But the shapes of lives were everywhere. A row of small alcoves halfway up a block. Shops, once. Some still held rusted racks, shelves barely visible under encrusting life. A collapsed frame that might have been a transit stop, its signage entirely overgrown. A wide plaza where the stone paving had sagged but not broken, now serving as a feeding ground for a swarm of delicate, long-limbed grazers. Jake's throat tightened. He'd seen images of abandoned Earth cities. Earthquakes, floods, radiation. Life was persistent but not unstoppable. Pripyat, Centralia, Pompeii, New Orleans. Whole towns left for the ghosts behind after mines closed or oil dried up. This had the same hollowness, but stretched in 4 dimensions: height, width, depth, and song. The scar he'd felt earlier grew stronger as they moved in. It wasn't loud. That would have been easier to handle. It was thin. A constant, almost silent ringing where there should have been a full accord. Like listening to a piece of music with half the instruments missing and your brain forever trying to fill in the absent notes. The quiet burned itself out long ago, Umi said quietly, for Jake's benefit as much as anyone's. It leaves a residue in the pattern. This reef remembers being hurt. Like scar tissue, Jake said. Yes, Umi said. We tread carefully on scars. The avenue they followed opened up. Ahead, past the outer ruins, the city proper unrolled. Chorax's main ring sat on a natural rise. A broad, circular plateau encircled an inner depression. From this angle, Jake could see the start of the line of towers Max had mentioned, a bold silhouette cutting against the dark. Once it would have been graceful. Now it leaned like a drunken talon. Between the tower, a wide road circled the plateau, was half buried in drifts of sediment and living growth. Smaller buildings huddled along its inner edge, their outlines softened. At the very centre of the depression, where the Grand Market and Plaza had once stood, there was nothing. Not a ruin, not even a stump. Just a low, irregular mound of debris, smoothed by time and colonised by low, clinging algae. Base camp location reached, Kilo tagged. Environmental conditions match projections. The tenebrous currents have kept this clear. Jake felt a shiver run down his spine under his impulse fabric. The absence at the city's heart was somehow worse than shattered towers. You couldn't look at it without thinking of the moment when something had been there, full of people and life and conversation and aspirations. And then it was all just gone one day. Convoy, Mag said. We will build camp on the north edge of the plaza against the ridge of the old road. Be careful of silt and slick stone. Echo's engines eased, bringing them to a slow drift just above the broken circle of the outer road. Nick settled a little ahead, planting his feet on a stretch of old stone that creaked alarmingly but held. We will not go closer to the core until we have established filter nodes and surveyed for quiet residue. Safety first, Umi affirmed, decoupling from Echo's hull. Any chance we're not the first to break quarantine? Jabra asked, eyes on the ruins. Low, Mag said, but not zero. That is why we brought you, Captain. Scavengers are possible, but unlikely. Flattering, Jabra said. Her shroud tasted of wariness and the small, bright spark of someone who saw opportunity in every ruin. Jake let his gaze travel across the towers again. In his mind's eye, he tried to imagine them lit. Alive, shrouds bright, people moving along balconies and through transit channels, temps arrays humming with stored memory. Then he overlaid that with the image Mags had given him. Those same towers going suddenly still as their cores turned to informational dust. It happened very fast, he said quietly. Sorry, it happened fast, he said quietly. Very fast, Umi confirmed. Sometimes the worst disasters are not those you see coming, the ones that slip through in systems you trusted. There was no comfort in that, only honesty. Jake adjusted his suit's thrusters, feeling the small, precise pushes as he unhooked from Echo and let his feet come to rest on ancient stone. The pressure of the ocean around them was vast and indifferent. The lights of their convoy were tiny against the dark. Ahead lay Chorax, a great ring of silent towers, a missing heart, and a story unwritten since the Forge Wars. He let his shroud contract, keeping close to the warmth of Echo's presence as they began unloading their camp gear and establishing a home within a city for the first time in centuries. And that was as far as I got. How are we doing, chat?
Well, we are one person up. We have new friends.
Oh, we have
coming
new
to
friends.
us.
How wonderful.
We have yes, we have someone named Alfie the Hound
Welcome
who've
in,
made
Alfie.
a suggestion. that have come, and they are writing a dark fantasy shifter romance.
Ooh, dark fantasy romances can be really good if they're handled well. Because I'm that. So for me, I've talked about romance so much on this channel and all the things I hate about it, but I don't really step into the things that I think could be good with the romance genre. One of the issues I think a lot of romance stories can fall into is making only the romance the point of the story. Whereas, going through real life, romance tends to happen alongside all of the other things that are going on in your life. So having those external elements that you're also highlighting deepens that interpersonal connection that makes romance stories worth it. So dark fantasy can be a great vehicle for that. I wish you much luck with your writing, Harvey the Hound, and thank you very much for dropping in to join us. We do some nonsense around here. We're writing absolute chaos all of our own.
That we do.
Okay, so Doctor Who seems to think what I wrote was good. That's good.
I think it was captivating. I think it did what it had to do. And
Excellent.
you were putting down that this was mostly about setting a scene and a mood, which I think it did.
Yes.
Very much did. Short tracks and its various history. I really love the personal note of the Psyoptic expert about the efficiency of the towers.
Yes.
And how they work. That was a very nice touch. Yeah, go ahead.
So there was a couple of things that I wanted to play with whilst I was doing this, because of course I had the bullet point notes that we made at the end of last year were going to dictate to us how our story would go, and we decided that in this section it would be important to introduce the readers to why is this expedition so important, why is this place they're going to worth visiting. We need to have a sort of synopsis of why we are here, and we couldn't just steal liberally from the Mummy this time round, because in the Mummy they made Hamunaptra so important by showing you a prologue at the beginning of the movie where you see Anexunamun and Imhotep, thank you. My brain was trying to go with the wrong Egyptian. And Imhotep having their sort of sordid love affair and the effects of that. And so you kind of knew why this city was important. A pharaoh used to be here, an important dude was here. Everything that comes from this came from this place, and we already knew. We can't do that.
Who is the wrong Egyptian?
There are many. I was not thinking of Imhotep. I was trying to go with various other different Egyptian names, and that not the dude I was looking for.
Oh, okay. I was just curious. How many wrong Egyptians are there? But very good. Very well. Go on.
Literally just the wrong one that I was looking for. Not wrong in and of themselves. And yes, Verathragna, both Shoal and the Mummy have a chaos goblin named Benny. You are right.
That is true. For perhaps different reasons, but we will never know. No, would we?
Oh, Benny's such a great character in that movie as well. Benny. Okay, I'm going to take another tangent. This is my stream. You guys are used to this by now. Benny from the Mummy, not our Benny, but Benny from the Mummy is an excellent character study. We might have to talk about at some point because he is comic relief done right. Comic relief is bad when all that it's there to do is to just cause the occasional ha-ha funny joke, and all they do is be aggravating the rest of the time, and you don't know why they're there. They serve no purpose other than ha-ha funny joke, and they are never enjoyed. I don't know why Hollywood continues to do this. I would very much like the comic relief character trope to just die, unless you're going to do it right, which is Benny. Benny is amusing. He causes all kind of scenarios that lighten the mood of what would otherwise be quite a terrifying movie. Which, the original Mummy was part of the original Universal horror cycle, and etc., etc. And there is a place for that, but that wasn't the tone that the Mummy was aiming for. And the tone that it did aim for reached a wider audience, and I think was the right one to go for. And Benny was really well done because he helped to lighten the tone. He helped to push the story forward, and at no point was he there in a way that you didn't understand what his purpose to the story was. He wasn't a wasted character. he had a
I'm looking at
purpose.
you, Jar Jar Binks.
Yes, and I can see Delta T is bringing Jar Jar up as well. There are many examples of bad comic relief characters, or sort of bad bit characters that are supposed to be there to represent a certain trope and to just be there, and that's not good writing. As we have said a bajillion times on this stream, in a narrative, things mean things. Narratives are curated experiences. You don't put in things just because they happen in real life, unless that thing is also driving towards reinforcing the theme, or the story, or the emotion of the plot. It should be serving a purpose, because this is a curated narrative. And Benny served a purpose. He was the assistant to the bad guy. He allowed for exposition and lore dropping that wouldn't have happened without him. He was a galvanizing impetus for the heroes. He was there to push the sort of moral themes of the story, where greed and being the bad guy and being a coward and etc. At the end, Benny doesn't meet a pleasant end. And Benny was there for a reason. He's a whole character, and he is incredibly memorable as a result. And his presence allowed for there to be some great lines in the movie. And he shopped around for gods. Yes, he was. And that again, this is going to character. People can be cowardly. Benny is a coward of a character, but he's not just sort of the snivelling sort who just entirely runs away. He has that sort of conniving and cleverness to him, where he shopped around for gods. He was like, I want other things to support and protect me, and I'm willing to take all of them. Give me every medallion, and it worked out for him, right up until it didn't.
Yes. I mean, I shopped out for gods, and there you have it.
Lord Trower
Which is
says,
a rightly
it
so.
does not make me want to slap Benny from the Mummy upside his head. Yes, because he's written well. I mean, Benny is clearly a bad guy. His character is very well presented. But you don't walk away from the movie going, I never want to have to think about that character ever again. He's a fun bad guy. He's enjoyable. And he's memorable.
Good bad guy.
Yeah.
Good bad guys are the hallmark of good writing.
Mm-hmm.
I will die on that hill, and
Yes.
many other people will die with me on it.
And bad guys that commit to
I've
their
got a
bit,
50
whatever
cal.
that will be. Later, no! Okay, yeah. Side tangent aside, yes, comic relief characters. Things in this chapter I wanted to include. So, we had said that we wanted to do some sort of scene setting, and we wanted, because we couldn't use the same prologue style the Mummy did, because we used our prologue slightly differently to set up effectively a MacGuffin for later in our story. But we did that so that it wouldn't feel like it just came out of nowhere, and that it's reasonable. And also allows for some of our other characters to have impetus. So we used our prologue in a different way. So we needed to have this introduction to why is Chorax important. And we'd said that we wanted Mags to sort of give a briefing to the group as they descended, and that it should be sort of shortish and tight in the same way as sort of Ripley informing the Marines and aliens the sort of trouble that they're going into. I went a bit longer than that because we have more space in a written narrative than we do in a movie, and especially an action movie. But that was the prime thing, is we needed to get out the information about Chorax. Why is this place important? But there were some other things I wanted to get in here too. I wanted to get in that sort of wonder of the open ocean and give a chance for the natural wildlife to pass by, to make it clear that it's not going to be just dark and black down where our adventure is happening. Yes, it will be dark, but there is light in the darkness, whether it's phosphorescence, bioluminescent, lights that we'll find in the city as we go on, the lights on our crew. It's not going to be an entirely dark and grim location. We want to have that sort of aspect of hope and change, etc. in the water. So I really wanted to bring that in. I wanted to bring in the feel of pressure, because ocean, that makes it feel more like we're in the ocean. And I wanted to bring in that sort of haunting feeling that you get from abandoned places. There's something about abandoned places that really spark the soul, and it can spark them in a good way, it can spark them in a bad way. Sometimes it does both at once, and you get a very ambivalent feeling that's on both sides of the scale at the same time. And I feel like you especially get that sort of good and bad in places that were abandoned very quickly. So it's like life was just left in an instant, and then time took over. And that's what we have with Chorak. So that was why I wanted to bring up, when Jake was having sort of his analogies thoughts, Pripyat, for example. I find looking at images of Pripyat to be incredibly powerful and stirring, because it was that whole, literally one day life here just stopped. Nobody prepared for it, there was no organisation to it. It was just, right now, this moment, life here stops, everybody out. And that's what we're going to have with Chorak. So I wanted to bring that in. And there was one other element that I wanted to make a first allusion to in here, and I don't know how many people will have picked it up. There was a brief moment where I had Jake thinking about a reef from his past that couldn't scream. I wanted to have our sort of first little thing of Jake's past creeping its way in, so that later when he's having discussions with other characters and talking about his regrets and the like and things that have gone wrong in his life, we've got that sort of keynote that started to bring it in here.
I noted the part where he used his shroud in accordance to Umi's teachings.
Yes, because of course that's one of the big reasons Jake is here, is human Shoal-y psionics.
He is trying for perhaps the first time in humanity to take a human psionically active person and actually use that in a Shoal-y mandated way.
Yes.
To Jake, it is completely new. To humanity, perhaps, it is completely new. This is not something anyone that Jake knows has ever done.
It might be really interesting to do a sort of short story for Jake sometime after this novel happens, where he returns to human society and how he's different from being in Shoal-y society for so long. And the fact that he's willing to use his shroud more, even around other humans. That could be something interesting too.
Is there a pen large enough for us to look at this in half a year from now? Just go back to it and just say, okay, because this is something I am going to be interested in trying out.
Make a note somewhere. I've got a lot on this year, despite promising I would do less, and I don't trust myself to remember.
I did not ask you to do anything.
I'll just forget. I'll just completely forget that I ever said this. So make a note somewhere. All right, Delta has made. Go for it.
No, I will take on the power of the Omnisire, and in, let's say, August 14th.
Okay.
I'm just. It's a Friday. I'm assuming a terrifying amount of stuff. It's... Okay. Anyway, I'm writing down a note for myself. Continue, as I am redirecting the flows of the future in accordance to our designs.
Excellent. Carry on. So I was saying about how I wanted, they had that light and that sort of wonder and awe of the ocean included in this bit of scene setting, so that it didn't feel like, something like The Abyss where it's dark and the tone is very different. And Delta T had the comment, something to mention on the topic of grim and dark. There is a limit to it. A common criticism for some fantasy settings is where they try to make things so grim it becomes derpy. What you get there is grimdark has its place, and there's a lot of gritty, grim settings that I do enjoy, but it can absolutely go too far. And what you're doing there is, no matter what element that you're using, whether it's noble bright, whether it's grimdark, whether it's suspense, anything that you overuse and you just put in too much, you're going to generate audience apathy for whatever the thing is. So it could be, audience apathy towards grimdark. There's no hope here. What's the point in me caring? Or, you know, if there's all the suspense forever and ever and ever, but you never deliver any payoff, the audience isn't going to care. You've strung them along for too long, and either there's no payoff that's going to be big enough to make the amount of time you've made them wait feel good, or it just doesn't feel to them like you're ever going to get to a point, that they're just going to be here forever, at which point, why should you care? It's no good telling somebody, 6 months before their birthday that you have the most special surprise presents for them, and then bringing it up every single day for the 6 months leading up to their thing. Oh, I hope you're excited for your surprise present. If you mention that every single day for 6 months, by the time they get the present, they're not going to care. They're just going to be fed up with you banging on about it. So audience apathy is what you're generating there, and too much of anything is not good. With any book, with any narrative, with any story, you want to know what your theme and your message are, what it is that you're trying to deliver people towards, and you want to make sure that you are pacing yourself to get there. And this is why having beta readers is very important. If you're just writing for yourself and then you want to give it to a beta reader and say, hey, how does this feel? They can let you know those sorts of things, like, well, it felt like it took a really long time to get here, or, well, I kind of got bored around this section because of X, or I didn't want to finish this because of Y, and that can help you to identify where you have those problems. Or if you're working communally, like we are here, those sorts of bits of feedback tend to come in a lot quicker and help you to tweak the narrative as you go along. But we will still want people to read things when we're done and let us know where it's working and when we've maybe fallen down a little bit. And that is the joy of the editing process, which is just, oh god, your brain will dribble out of your ears, and that's normal. That is normal.
Yes, we like brains.
We do.
They're
like
pink and
brains.
squishy.
We do like brains.
Unless you're a coral brain, and then you're slightly amber colored.
Depending on which coral it is.
That is true.
Yes, we have
Except
all of our
Thames
different
coral. Thames coral, except no substitute. Otherwise, the temple guard will come after you, and trust me, you won't like it.
No. Things you would not want to find in a dark alley after midnight is a temple guardian with a reason to come looking for you.
Yes, a cephalonid with a lightning arc, just waiting to trace your neural network.
Oh no!
I mean,
All right, so that was
Is it-
some of my scene setting to start chapter 4. It doesn't look like I'm getting yelled at for anything I did particularly wrong, which is great.
So let's talk about what did go well and what. I did not understand the numbers.
Which numbers? The depth markers?
Yes.
They're pretty
I
much
did not
placeholder. I just threw in some numbers as I was going. We need to decide
Yeah.
what depth should be there, because I was just literally I was not my
It's
best
okay.
self this week.
This is we are doing. Remember, your brain drizzling out of your ears right now is normal.
Yes. Yep, so let's make some notes
Um,
of things that need to be changed. The depth markers need to be looked at logically and sensibly as ATM. They
Only-
are completely arbitrary. Okay?
Secondly, terminology I like and you might want to use is benthic layers. But because
integrating the benthic layers terminology for each shelf they pause at. Yep, I think that's good.
okay,
Good idea.
just so we'll have a little bit more variety. Other things that came to mind. It is unclear, and I'm not sure if it's supposed to be or not supposed to be. You might want to take a tiny stint in how the Shoal are changing, because Jake's suit is established to be able to handle the descent easily.
Yep.
or at least mechanically and autonomous. He doesn't have to think about it. Everybody else do need to think about it.
Yeah.
And they are probably taking time to change things. They are putting on pressure valves or they are depressurizing. It might be a cool moment to talk about the fact that, again, Shoaly clothing in general is first and foremost about leaving the natural pressure layer. And if they're moving down, this is what we're doing here, maybe taking a note that while Jabra seems to be completely aloof to everything because she is built like the eponymous tank, she doesn't care. A Cephalonid in the crew or a Podlon would be removing bits because he's used to the deeper pressure and needed more equipment to survive in a lighter pressure. Same goes with Cephalonids. A Latical, we need to put on more gear as they go down because they're used to lighter pressure.
Yes.
And at some point, someone might spot a Salation just swimming around, being an absolute ass, too big to consider anything. I don't know. This will bloat this section way too much. But if it can be pointed out or related to, it might be the correct place to put it.
Yeah, we should definitely put in some details on, the Shoaly. That's kind of what we're here for. You're quite right, adding in some descriptors of all those things. I think those are some really good ideas. Clothing on, clothing off, valves, etc. Clothing on,
Just shifting.
clothing off, changes with valves, chromatophore, colours, etc. Come back to this idea too when the return journey happens. That will also include bubbles releasing from characters as they rise because of how pressure works in that direction. Okay, yep, those are some good notes. Does chat have any other suggestions of things that need to be adjusted in what we read today? I'll be happy to make notes and take criticism on board.
Chat.
We do work on
Yes,
this all
chat.
together.
Yep. You don't get to let me be the only one harping on it.
Yeah, then the next series of things that I would like to make some notes on is what comes next. We will have our initial forays into the city coming after this, and I'm interested in what sort of locations you guys want to see as those initial forays and establishing happen. And this is where at the beginning of the stream I had the thing up talking about scene setting. So I've explained the logic behind the scene setting that I did in the 4,000 words we read today, wanting to make sure that we weren't just going sort of grim and dark, but that we had these sort of wondrous elements, that we then shifted into that sort of eerie feeling of an abandoned place, and the fact that tends to make people quite introspective. Not our chat member, the general term. But now we'll have the opportunity for them to sort of get into the nitty gritty of exploring the initial area and beginning their expedition. I'm very into volcanology and particularly fascinated by eruptions like Mount St. Helens and, of course, Vesuvius back in the time of Pompeii and Herculaneum. One of the things I find really interesting and compelling when I'm watching documentaries about those places is it's not, we found all the skeletons in the boat sheds because they were sheltering there and hoping to, sort of boats would come in to rescue them and take them away. Or, we had these two people who were in the bakery and they were hugging, and it's not the bodies that interest me. It's not even, the wide streets or the fact that Pompeii had, the penis carvings in various places, because the culture of ancient Rome was different to our culture of today. What always gets me is little things like the way that one of the bread shops was laid out, where they had the preservation of, you know, how everything was laid out, where things were, what their
The
shelves.
thermoium.
Yeah, and then what the shelves
The,
looked like. Their shelves looked completely different to ours because they were designed to hold amphora, not our nice flat-bottomed vessels that we use today. They found an old winery that had a fermenter in it that still had ancient grape musk in it, and you can get wine that is made using that ancient preserved grape musk, which is just fascinating to me and incredible. It's these little human things that really fascinate me. The fact that they had apartment buildings, because in, I think it was Herculaneum, not Pompeii, could be the other way around, the preservation was such that, unlike in the majority of other Roman excavated sites, the second and third stories of buildings were preserved. So they could see how apartment buildings worked for ancient Romans and how they dealt with sanitary issues, what bed frames were like because some wood was preserved, and how that was all. It's those little human elements that talk about people from so long ago who had the same concerns that we have today. I mean, where do you sleep? Where do you live? How do you eat? Ancient Pompeii and Herculaneum had fast food stalls because the average lower class citizen didn't have the time or space to cook at home. So you had takeout. Yes, sorry, I'm off. This is an area that's your expertise.
I walked these streets as part of my master's degree.
I have never been there, and so I am so jealous.
I've been to Herculaneum and Pompeii. Part of my master's degree was to spend a week in Rome, and we did a day trip to Herculaneum and Pompeii, and I just went through the catacombs and everything. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, you're just talking, and I'm trying to. I just want to tell to Bully Snake, who said ancient graffiti proves that people were always people, and there is graffiti. I do have an. May I?
Of course, no. You go first. You go first, please.
There's a graffiti of a dude complaining about gas prices being too high and the wine being mid-tier. About 6 miles out of Rome, there's a graffiti, well preserved, about a dude complaining that the wine was watered down and the feed costs for his mules was too high, and the taxes took everything.
Amazing.
That is
because people are people. We are just always people at all times. Do you happen to know what the oldest piece of graffiti that has ever been discovered is?
Not. I haven't been looking at research in the last 5 years.
Well, this has been, you know, there may actually be something newer than this that's been found, but I doubt it. So we're going to go back to ancient Egypt, because we've talked about Egypt quite a lot today. The oldest piece of known graffiti that has been found is in a cave in Egypt, near where one of the pharaohs had like their palace that they ruled from. And it was the pharaoh Hatshepsut who was in power at the time. And if anybody here knows their Egyptian history, Hatshepsut was something of a unique pharaoh because he was a she, despite the fact that, you know, pharaohs were male. But Hatshepsut was female, but took over the role of pharaoh and was, you know, referred to as male pronouns, etc., because that was how things worked and whatever. Hatshepsut was in power, and of course people had feelings about the status quo being somewhat unsettled and not quite as it had always been, and there is a piece of graffiti in a cave that was carved there by a labourer that basically implies that Hatshepsut was banging her chief advisor. It is the oldest piece of graffiti we currently know about, to the best of my knowledge, and it is very much criticism of the government with sexual overtones.
We have that all over. I will not delve into it because I have a book of graffiti from Rome, and I used to take my friends, and I have two books. I have a book of Yiddish blessings, double quotes, which are brutal to the extreme. because when a Yiddishy folk tries to tell you to go meep yourself, they do that in an elaborate and deadly manner.
Fabulous.
And this is one book, and the other book is about graffiti from Rome. And I just roll the die and read them randomly until people inevitably cease to breathe.
That sounds
So-
wonderful.
So maybe I'll pull out the books and do some rough translations for you lot. The thing about Herculaneum
Mhm.
is walking the street, and the architecture is one thing, but going to the Thermoium is the name of those fast food stalls where everybody ate because they couldn't cook at home. Because if you cooked at home, there was fire, and fire brigades costs a lot.
It
And I
also
will not-
required them to have space, and some of those apartments were not big.
Not at all. They were pretty mashed up, and the Thermoium was amazing because they had like 5 ongoing fires where they kept things hot, and you'd get a piece of bread, you'd put the stew in the bread, and off you went. That was your meal.
Mhm.
And it is so similar to modern day shawarma stalls. It's insane. It's
Yep.
in every age, in every nation, there is the flatbread takeaway.
Yep. Yep.
Like,
Are you
we've
familiar
never-
with the Great British Cornish pasty?
Yes.
And you know why it has the crust in the shape that it does?
No, please tell me.
People and food is just, and history is just, food can tell you so much about what was going on in a region at any given time. So the Cornish pasty, we had a lot of mines in England, you know, back in the day before we just kind of yoinked all of the ore out of the ground. And mining was a great British tradition that we may or may not have also encouraged children to take up at certain points in history before we had different ideas. And the problem with mining is it's a very hands-on job, and you're going to get very dirty, and the things that you're mining out of the ground, typically they're not great to ingest, but you only have a short lunch break. So what would happen is you'd make Cornish pasties. This started in Cornwall, where we had a lot of mining going on, and it was just sort of, you know, spread out because it's just so practical. It is a pastry with a thick crust around one edge that's rolled, and in the middle is hot meat and gravy. It's nice, thick, rich food to keep you warm, to keep you energized, to fuel you while you're underground mining ore out of the, you know, the countryside. And your miners are going to be eating this with dirty hands, effectively. They don't exactly have the time and luxury of finding a water source to go and clean up before they eat. So that thick rolled edge of pastry, that was where you held it. You didn't eat that part. You ate the rest of it, where the meat and everything was, and the pastry was thinner, and then the thick crust was what you threw away. So it was like a self-contained meal that you could just carry with you, and it kept you safe from ingesting all the nasty stuff that was on your hands.
Amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Because this dish, I'm looking at it, it looks very similar to a lot of other dishes. Roman bread
Mm-hmm.
came in large cake-like loaves, and you would cut it in slices, like pizza bread, but it was imagine a cake.
Yep.
Okay, you've seen Roman bread.
Yes.
Have you seen the
Yes.
So, and you'd you'd have a slice, like a pizza slice, a triangular slice.
Mm-hmm.
You take out the filling, you mix it with a stew, you close it up, and you eat it on your way.
Yep.
So you don't buy the whole slice, the whole thing. You buy it by slice.
Yep.
Yep.
People are
Food,
so
I like food.
practical with food for whatever's going on in life, and it can just tell you so much. So, you know, coming back to Shoal, what I would love to do is investigate those sort of human elements that the Shoalie would have had. Verithragda's hungry now. Yeah, same. Just, you know, the sort of things that we want our expedition to maybe poke through. So maybe some food shops we want them to poke through. And
Mhm.
we can maybe have a think about how Shoal from centuries ago
A,
prepared food compared to now. What's the same? What's
a,
different?
a complete mess of barnacles in a derelict wine shop where everybody got barnacled and now there's only barnacles left.
Hmm.
I'm sorry, this is funny to me. Like everybody's like, oh shit, the barnacles got back. Now the barnacles run the business. Let's see. So there's that.
Yeah. What else would we like? Well, what other things? I think we should have them poke through what would have been an education centre at one point. There's just something about schools, abandoned schools, that is just
A
compelling.
crash, a cephalonid crash.
Yeah.
Wow, that would be confusing for Jake.
Hmm.
They're like, why does it look like an inside out porcupine?
What will
There's
also be interesting is, and it's again one of the things that it's just that connection to the sort of the human element that sparks our brains is what you're teaching your children says a lot about where your society is currently at and what's going on. Whether it's what you're actively teaching them or what you're not teaching them. So that could be informative.
That's true. Interestingly enough, there will be no sites of heavy industry because Chorax was, before the Forge Wars, no Titan making.
So yeah, let's make
No.
sure. Let's have them pick through an old workshop complex. It is nothing like modern workshops because Chorax predates Titans.
And there's very little metal. They didn't have access to a lot of metal.
There is very little metal as a result. Yes, we will absolutely bring that in.
Because and about the people, that means a lot about there's going through the crash. There's a bunch of soft resin modules that the children used to play with, and since they're cephalonids, they're modeled, and there's a bunch of um, Play-Doh esque material, half shaped into various shoaly creatures, still on the floor, buried in the silt.
Okay.
But it's showing cephalonids, and what was the other species there? Decided that Chorax is cephalonid and latical?
Let me bring up the notes and I will see, because I know we said it was cephalonid heavy. Would help if I'm bringing up the right thing. Let's click over here and see if we can find out what we wrote about our lost city. Okay, wide spaces and narrower tunnels, a lot of verticality. We know it has a ruined barracks.
Abyssal cephalids. There we go.
Yeah.
It's a top. And the arc here.
Abyssal cephalid is the greatest size lived here in the relationship with. Yeah, so it's going to be the Archaea. So Salacians, but it's going to be the smaller shark type ones. Yeah, there we go.
Exactly. So you've got Sicella. Archaea also use Sicella.
Yes, they do. Yes.
Okay, so you have Sicella, you have Archaea, you have cephalonids, but these are abyssal cephalonids of a different sort. They look different,
Yeah.
and it might Jake can't pick on any of it because he doesn't know, but he's walking with someone and he's looking at someone else, and it's like looking at a movie because he can understand because he can touch Shroud, and the emotions are so blatant at the moment that even Jake can relate through someone else, and this is where we mesh 3 or 4 layers of the story in a single scene. Am I making any sense, or am I
Yes.
just
No, you are.
okay?
I'm just taking notes as we go. That's all, so that we have this all written down.
Yeah.
Okay.
Chat. Am I want some affirmation from chat. I want to know what chat is thinking. I know you're hungry. I'm also hungry. What did they eat? What's the leftover? I mean, the fish took it all. A statue completely covered by bioluminescent, whatchamacallit, the jellyfish. Yes,
Well, we
jellyfish is the
know
word.
ultimately the sort of like the last place that we want them to wander into is the Temple Plaza, which we detailed in here. Where we're going to have the statues. It's where the sort of misty area comes in, where we're going to have the statues with like the faces missing, etc. We already know what that section's going to be like. It's just sort of the things that we want them to poke through before they get there. So I'm very happy to have sort of statues and that sort of stuff. I just think that would be sort of like our last place that we had already mentioned about.
Thank you, Lurking Beard. Go feed yourself.
Please do feed
Eat.
yourselves, and but food is important. Food is delicious. Shoaly shellfish
Shoal.
takeaway. Clams cooked in their shells, and you open them right when you're about to eat them. Yeah, I can see that happening.
An overgrown growth farm. Growth. You remember when we detailed how the early Shoaly cities had
Yeah.
special spaces under the benthic crust?
Mm-hmm.
So imagine one of them being open and just overgrown, like that location in Fallout New Vegas, where
Maybe.
the plants moved out.
Through an old farm cave. Saris, please stop, baby girl. I'm gonna have to get down if you keep that up. Thank you. Pick through an old farm cave with old farming practices evident. Yep. So we've done something that sort of touches on education. Do we need to have them go through at least one recreational area?
Okay, I mean,
Aiden is suggesting some kind of sporting ground. What do we think, chat?
okay.
Near the crash? Okay.
So again, think about what would happen if you had a
Alright. Well, let me hear Lictor's thought and then we'll go from there. Sorry, Lictor, you were saying?
no, he's good. I'm thinking just like the arena in Herculanum.
Mm-hmm.
It's slightly outside of the actual town, and it is imagine a bowl that is where all the spectators are sitting to watch,
Mm-hmm.
or batching, because again, Cephalin isn't when we're working in 3 dimensions, and there is an entire mess of beams that used to be a whole 3-dimensional maze where teams fought against each other in a combination of full contact sport, moving through a 3-dimensional maze to get, for lack of better prospects, a ball from point A to point B on the 3-dimensional maze that you can climb and swim through, and you have to move through the other team and get to the other side. Kind of like, Shoal Ball.
Yeah, I can envision it. I think what would be a cool way of doing that is let's have them find a sort of carving of it in the creche, and it gets brought up and talked about, and then maybe that evening, once camp is set up, we wanted to have some time for Jake and Hordaka to just sort of have some private time and talk. Maybe the two of them sort of, because it's on the outskirts, so it's not going into the city, it's not a problem. Maybe we have the two of them go to sort of see it and record it, etc. And that gives them some time to sort of talk and then come back. Like
Battleground.
Squiddish just pop into my head. Get out.
He's they're not
I know
wrong.
exactly why, because yes, this would be kind of like Quidditch, but not quite so ridiculous.
And
but yes.
and in the crash, you can find one of these Play-Doh characters with some memorabilia. Sports hero, a kid making a puppet of a sporting team hero, and it's like a modern day soccer fan, or Daka, I'm looking at you, finding out that the Inca had a ball sport, a few millennia ago. And they're like, oh my god, they had sports team back all the way back then. God damn it. I thought we were new. I thought we were modern.
Nope. Nothing new on the Earth, or in fact on Shoal.
Yes. Nullum nove sub solem. Nullum nove sub lerni.
Nothing new under the sun.
Again, sun, moon. Yeah, I mean, yes, yes, indeed, I agree. But now, make squids hunt you through a three-dimensional maze as you fight against each other, trying to convey your ball from one end of the three-dimensional maze. Well, everybody else is looking at you, and when the crowd cheers, every time the crowd cheers, you can literally feel it in your soul as your shroud reverberates.
It would make sporting events very interesting, and into having developed things to the level that we have now, with the terms that we have and how things work. Looking back at the earlier writing we did for the Jewel of Pride Glass, the one where it was just the two sports titans and the two cities, just inventing hooligan culture. It does give it that extra level of depth.
Exactly. Isn't it the fun part about writing
Yes.
when things just like, yes, oh god, oh yes.
Recursive writing and world building is very much a thing. I spoke earlier about my art mentor and the fact that I'm going to get to sort of help sort through some of her ideas with her and get her going in the direction that she wants to go, so she can do all of the cool things. One of the cool things that she's got sort of going on there, and that I've had going on myself, is this recursion. And we were talking about her stuff, and there was an original story that I wrote with. It was all her ideas, just sort of put into a narrative for her to use as sort of her VTuber lore to start exploring this. And she's made some changes to it since that was originally written. And one of her moderators was a bit concerned that might be, something that was a little bit, I hope you don't mind, but this is what's happened since you last checked. And I'm like, no, stories evolve, especially when it's an ongoing setting where it's not just supposed to be, this exists for this one story to be told and then I'm done. If you have a recurring setting where things are going to continue to happen and you're following different character stories or a different series of events over the course of multiple novels, things evolve. And sometimes you go back and you change things, and sometimes you go back and you rewrite things, or you go back and you give it new context. Battletech has this. The Battletech cartoon exists and is not lore accurate on its own feet. However, it can become completely lore accurate if you turn around and say, yes, this was a piece of propaganda released by this group. That's why it's not completely accurate. And there you go, problem solved. It's evolved. You can mesh things together in different ways. So yeah, that sort of recursion where you go round is great.
Are you suggesting that perhaps, possibly, maybe, the history of the world was not completed at the date Common Era 42 by Levy, and everything then since then was revisionism?
It's the weirdest thing. It's almost like life isn't a set in stone script, and sometimes ad-libbing happens.
As a historian, I am livid. Not Levy, just livid.
That was a terrible joke. And it actually made me laugh. How dare you? Oh, dear.
Oh. Yes. I'm sorry, I had to.
Yes, I noticed. Yes,
That's okay.
it's one of the
I'll see my email.
characters that's so good in Discworld that just makes some of those books as powerful as they are. I just love the fact that Sir Terry Pratchett was like, yes, the world is disorderly, history doesn't run according to plan, and it's very annoying, especially when you have to study it or chronicle it. And then he invented the auditors, whose whole thing is that they want history to be nice and neat and preferably just stop, so they can catalogue everything and it doesn't keep changing all of the time. And they're just annoyed that life doesn't follow sensible rules. Introspective is very pleased with that joke too. It was awful. Yes.
I'm sorry. Just rereading discussions with Levy because we are finishing with the Prince. No. I have a reason. I have a justification. I have Justinian on my side. I will see myself out.
Yes. Though, if I'm entirely honest, it might be time that we saw all of us out, because I don't think I have anything else productive to present today. You guys are giving me some really good notes to work on for next week. I'm looking forward to writing this bit. And it's been a hard week, as I said. It's been a bit of a hard week, so I don't feel like we need to pressure ourselves to fill another half an hour if we don't need to.
No. We can take an easy day, Chat. Are you okay with that? Or do you again, if Chat has any specific demands, we can blame
Absolutely.
them.
Yes. If there's anything else you want to go over, Chat, but if not, these are some great ideas I can work with for next time.
Excellent. Also, one last thing that you have to put down.
What's that?
Blood on the Lands. Doctor Who has stuff they want to do.
Yes. Yes, I do owe Doctor Who some time, and time is the one thing that I absolutely never have enough of. Are you available on Sunday, Doctor Who, or this upcoming Monday? Because I want to give that an appropriate amount of time so we can sit and work on it properly. So I'd rather slot you in and give you a proper amount of time than just sort of ad hoc do it. So you let me know. Sunday or Monday, both would be good. Sunday after 3 CST. Okay, yeah, we'll get together on Sunday. You message me when you're ready and we will do the thing. That will be very fun, and that's something we can also hopefully put some initial stuff in front of Chat next week and be like, hey, look at this cool thing we're working on.
Excellent.
Can I give Chat a homework? Sure, what homework are you thinking of?
Yes, homework.
We haven't had homework for a week or two. That would be a good idea. What is Chat's homework going to be? Okay, so... Alright, I'm on tenterhooks now. I'm going to drink some more of my water.
Yes, hydrate. Hail, hydrate. United we drink, alone we fall.
Ceres is also giving me big cuddles. So for all those pets that were dreamed earlier, the pets have been administered.
Pets have been redeemed.
Big old sleepy bean on my hip. You can give homework, no guarantee we'll do it. Squirrel! Yeah, that sounds about the usual way this goes.
What's the equivalent of a squirrel in Shoal?
What was that? Sea moth. The little adorable creatures that Eric drew for us, that may or may not be sort of real. Or real in the way that people think they are.
If you have played, I did play a lot of it. Okay, so
we'll let Doctor Who finish all of this off and then we'll read it out so people who are only listening into this nonsense can also catch up with what's going on. I think I have a feeling of where this is going, and this would be a fun thing. See if Chat comes back, and if people don't, that's fine too, because we will figure it out.
I already have ideas for that.
I'm also having a massive sense of deja vu right now. My brain is
Really?
really just not. Yes, and it's not because of anything that's actually happened. My brain is just not screwed on right this week. It is just off all over the place. Okay, so Doctor Who says if you have played things like Powered by the Apocalypse, the playbooks have archetypes: the financier, the meddling kid, the agent. So Doctor Who is asking, what archetypes would we have for a campy horror movie set on Shoal? So if there's anything that you think would be, so imagining a horror movie, a sort of campy, enjoyable one set on Shoal, what sort of character archetypes would you want to see turn up as sort of playable characters or characters in the movie? Should we have, the beauty queen, the meddling kid is a great example here. The lone country farmhand. And if we do end up having pranksters, then, that's going to give us another good reason to talk about how to do comic relief right next week. Yeah, Blood on the Lens. For anybody who doesn't know, Blood on the Lens is a very interesting setting that allows you to short couple of session tabletop RPGs where you're basically running a horror movie, and the rules are available for free online, and we're planning on writing a Shoal module for it because we can.
So I'm already suggesting the glam shroud as the.
Is that like a glam rocker, but not?
I was going to go with the one who puts on too much makeup. Take it however you will.
Beauty queen who's secretly a serial killer. I mean, that could be your threat in the session. But yeah, if you have ideas for character archetypes, pop them over into the Discord channel. Doctor Who and I will pick them up from there, and we'll be looking at some stuff to do with that sort of thing on, I think, did you say Monday or did you say Sunday? Sunday, that's right. Sunday's a great day for it. It's completely fine. Yeah, I am a blank who does blanks, and then, fill in the blanks. So yeah, give us some character archetypes that you think would be interesting, and we'll see if we can do anything useful with them. That sounds fun.
Yeah, sounds amazing. Everybody, and less words.
Yeah, I think that's going to be us for this week.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, thank you all for being here and listening to the usual nonsense. Yes, Sunday will be busy. I'll be seeing Doctor Who. There will be WBPLW on Sunday night, and we will see if the Orcs Belt decides to stay with me or whether somebody manages to take it off me. That will be very fun. And yeah, I will see you guys then. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. Do you have any parting words for our wonderful chat who help us to make the most ridiculous things?
I've met enough. I have made enough historical atrocities. So with this, I shall leave you.
Yes.
Good night, everyone.
Possibly for the best. Take it easy, everybody. We will see you again next time.
Next time.